What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video we're going to be going through my pick of my top 5 cheap mods that you can do to your Mark IV Megane. Now there's some performance stuff on there, there's some visual stuff on there, so hopefully a little bit of something for everyone. So let's get into it. So before we get into today's video, as per usual, make sure you like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us out and the YouTube algorithm absolutely loves it. So starting things off in no particular order, I've put down D-Chrome or wrap. Now this is something you guys can go as far or as little as you want with this kind of thing, because it's a fairly cheap thing you can do. Depending on how big you want to do it. Obviously, if I'm not talking full wrap, I'm talking subtle wraps. So on the Megane, you may have seen in previous videos, I have the rear lights, the rear reverse and indicator lights. So I have those smoked just to take some of the intensity out of the rear lights. So it's part of the whole de-chroming. The rear badge has been wrapped in a gloss black. The door trims have been de-chromed in a satin black to match the rest of the trim. And the door handles have been done in a gloss black, and the front badge has been done in like a tint film as well, like a light tint film, so it takes some of the intensity out of the badge. But like I say, I had all those things done at the same time, so it wasn't a massively expensive thing. Obviously prices will depend on how much you get done and where you go, depending on the company that you use, but it's something I highly recommend because it's something you can do to, you know, really change the look of your car. Those subtle differences all come together and make a much bigger picture, especially when people see it at meets or people see it on your socials and stuff. And trust me, the amount of messages I get about oh, where did you get this done? Is the rear badge wrapped? Is this wrapped? Is that right? How did you do that? You know, it's just so many people come to me about those kind of things. And like I say, it all depends on how mad you want to go with it, if you want to get your roof wrapped black or whatever. But wrapping is one of those things. It's reversible, which is great. And obviously it's an instant colour change for if that's the kind of style you're going for. So yeah. So I put de-chroming, wrap is number 1. Next on the list, it's a bit controversial. I know this isn't for everyone. I've put the wiper delete kit, the killer wipers. Personally, I never use a rear wiper. I don't see the point in it. I've never used it. It's just one of those things. All water runs down the boot whenever you use the jet for the water, for the wiper and stuff. So I just never seen it, and it looks cluttered, especially on the back of a hatchback. It's not so bad on like a coupe or something like that, but on a hatchback, in my opinion. Whereas this car's got such a clean style to it. You know, like I've kept all the badges off and stuff as well, because I kind of think that goes with the whole theme of the car. Like I say, I think it suits the style of the car. Super easy mod. It was like, I can't remember how much it was, 15 quid or whatever. It's quite easy to fit. I did a little video for it. If you guys want to fit one to your car, I'll leave it up there for you. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's a nice, easy mod. It's cheap, very cheap, and it changes the look of the whole thing like substantially. People message me about. I know they've been hard to get hold of, the wiper delete kits. But yeah, it's worth the wait, because when you do it, you can do it yourself on your driveway. Take you 2 seconds. And yeah, just make sure you're careful with it and just take your time with it and make sure the finish is proper, and you can barely see it from a distance as well, which I love. Now number 3, another controversial one, the forged spacer. I did a little video on that if you guys want to check that out up there. But the forged spacer basically is like a sandwich plate between the standard recirc that's on the car. So it's got 6 holes in it, and it allows for some of that blow off valve effect without going through the whole unit and using a whole blow off valve system. I normally run a diverter valve, which I did on my old car, but I was looking into this because they're quite dilute, these Meganes, especially as standard, and there's not much going on, especially under the engine bay and stuff. So to match obviously the aftermarket exhaust I got, I thought the intake would be substantial, but it is actually quite quiet. Now don't get me wrong, I don't want to make all of the noises under the sun popping and shitting everywhere I go, but the spacer I found, it just gives it a little bit more room to breathe, if that makes sense. It doesn't actually do anything performance wise, so don't take room to breathe literally. lip means you can do that even if you're running a airbox. So you just maybe change to a panel filter, ITG panel filter that I used to run. And then yeah, the spacer plate, that will just give you a bit more excitement, like I say, and especially if you've got the trophy, because the trophy actually sounds pretty good standard exhaust wise. So this spacer comes in at a fairly cheap price. It took me 10 minutes to install. Did a video on this one as well, which I've already said, put it up there. But yeah, something for if you guys are looking for a little bit more excitement under the engine bay, like I was. But yeah, number 3, the Forge spacer. Now this is the only mod on the list that is for performance. It's the Powerflex lower torque mount. I had one of these on my Clio and I really liked it. I had the yellow one on my Clio. But coming over to the Megane, obviously it hasn't actually been out that long, the Powerflex mount for these. So they run a hybrid setup. So they're yellow on the engine side and they're purple on the actual where it mounts to the car. It's yellow and purple on the car side. It's kind of like a hybrid setup. But yeah, the idea of it, if you don't know, is basically stop some of that engine movement. So it's like crisper gear changes. It's much better when you come on and off the throttle and stuff like you. There's basically less engine movement, especially when it's under high torque. People say that you don't really notice the difference on an EDC, which is just it's just not true. It may be more noticeable on a manual because obviously you're throwing gears and you're coming on and off the throttle a lot more. But the car pitches so much less between gears. Once it's pitched and you keep shifting through the gears, it's much smoother. And I mentioned as well in a video that I did for that as well, if you want to check that out, that it's even in higher modes like race mode, it used to be very touchy, but it can be a little bit more modular with the throttle even in race mode, which is good because I like driving around in sport and race mode and, you know, make a little bit of noise here and there, you know. Obviously I wait for the car to be warmed up, so in the mornings and stuff, first thing in the morning I'm driving around on neutral, keeping the noise down, getting things up to temps. But yeah, when you've got to have things up to temps and stuff and you're in sport and race, you can get out there and, you know, and like I say, this engine mount was perfect for me. It was exactly what I wanted. It wasn't too tough for the road, which I was concerned about having a purple mount on there. But yeah, no cabin vibration. You don't get any vibration on startup. I don't notice any more vibration than I had on the standard unit that was factory on the car, but I have noticed significant less pitch between gears. And I've also noticed as well, like the throttle response is just nicer, and it's a bit, like I say, you can be a lot more modular with it, especially in the more sensitive modes. But yeah, I rate these anyway, and obviously I think it was more noticeable on the Clio because the box wasn't as sorted on there, the gearbox EDC box wasn't as sorted on there. But yeah, definitely a noticeable upgrade on this, and this is probably the most expensive one on the list, but I highly recommend if you've got a Mark IV Megane to get one of these. 2 bulb job, super easy, and I guarantee you'll notice the difference, whether you're a manual or an EDC. Now last but certainly not least, the Maxton rear lip. Now this was something I done really early on because this is a fairly cheap mod. This is probably the most second expensive I think on the list. The Maxton rear lip for the Megane is a little bit different to it was on the Clio and the Mark III Megs as well, because the Mark IV Megane has kind of like this little etch out of the rear wing. So lining up this wing was a lot easier than it was on my previous car. I've done a video on this as well, so if you want to check out the installation of that, befores and afters and all that, I'll leave that up there. The Maxton rear lip is just a subtle flick to the back. Again, it's not for everyone. People don't like it. People think it's tatty. People, you know, whatever, and that's absolutely fine. That's entirely up to them. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I think a lot of hatchbacks really struggle with that kind of sloped look at the back. You know, there's not a lot going on at the back, and these cars are so wide and they have such a lot of presence going on. I found that the Maxton just gives it that, like I say, same effect out on the Clio, just a little flick to the back, just to bring up just the style and the angles of the car. It's really hard to explain. It's hard to believe that a small piece of plastic changes the look of the car to that level, but trust me, if you see one next to it without one, you'll see what I mean. Obviously, if you guys have got a black car, you're winning because you won't even notice it because you can get it in a gloss black or a plastic finish. But yeah, the rear lip obviously on a black car sits in a lot more. Like, I'll leave one for a picture or a video for you guys over the top of the Clio that was running the Maxton rear lip. Obviously you can barely see it, so it fits in a little bit better. But yeah, it fits in with the Meg I found. There's black parts all over the car. Obviously the wheels are satin black, all the trims I've de-chromed, the door handles and stuff. So there's not much chrome left back on the car, so it's between the black and the red whole aesthetic anyway. So yeah, I really rate it, and like I say, nice cheap mod, but just make sure you do it right the first time, because the adhesive is brutal and you probably won't get a second chance at doing it. So yeah, final one, Maxton rear lip. So I'm going to end the video there. If you guys are enjoying this Meg content, get down in the comments and let me know what you want to see. Obviously I'm trying to cover all angles without concentrating too much on the Megane stuff. I like to mix things up, obviously, with the Fat Rags episodes and stuff, so you've got a mixed variation of content. But yeah, I do like to cover the Mark IV Meganes, and hopefully, because I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions, especially when it comes to modifying and maintaining such a new foundation of car. You know, there's not a lot out there being done, so I'm just trying to cover all those things at the same time while trying to be informative. So like I say, get at me in the comments if there's anything you want to see me cover. But for the meantime, I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, as you always do. Appreciate all the support, and we're on the last 250 subs now to 2k, which would be splendid. So yeah, let me know what you're saying. Catch you in the next one. Peace.